So, Dumbo, another movie that Disney decided to make a live action version with it, helmed by Tim Burton. He has taken a lot of liberties from the original to create this new one, which I'm absolutely okay with because of the time that Dumbo came out to now. It's completely different aspects as far as the story goes. But it's very, in my opinion, Tim Burton. You can see a lot of Tim Burton's abilities in this movie, and I think that he did a very good job at making it very subtle, but also creating like a new love for a character, essentially. Because Dumbo is so cute. I think out of all the characters in this movie, you want to root for Dumbo, and that's basically that's what the movie is that it's about Dumbo, and he really does a very good job at, even though there's other characters around him and more humans essentially around Dumbo, that they really don't take away from who Dumbo is and where Dumbo came from and stuff.
And you needed those live action characters to be able to carry the movie through anyways, because unless you were going to approach it with the animals talking, which Tim Burton obviously wanted to go more storybook with. Now granted, when we say it's very Tim Burton-y, it's very Tim Burton in the sense of like Big Fish. He's telling us a story from a storybook, but in live action form, and he has that it has that Burton motif in that sense for what he's done later in life in his career. But with that, of course, he ends up bringing along Eva Green, Michael Keaton, and of course Danny DeVito, bringing them back to the show. Seeing Danny DeVito and that entire troupe of the circus that he has, I loved it. I loved everything. I loved Dumbo being in there with them, the live action characters. Amazing references and callbacks to fans of either Dumbo or fans of Disneyland. There are plenty of things in there that you will just fall in love with as you're watching it, because it just takes you back to something that you did hold dear in your childhood. But then it changes completely because, again, needed to have a little bit different of a story to tell compared to the cartoon.
Yes, like you said before, I did love the callbacks to a lot of things that happened in the Dumbo movie. Even though a lot of things that happen in this movie are not very grounded in reality, I think that Tim Burton did a very good job of kind of keeping it subtle, and where it felt like it was going to go the way of like, oh, okay, that's too grand, then he brought it back down. You're like, okay, I can see that happening.
And for a movie with a flying elephant, he sure does ground this movie in reality. Yeah. And it fits. Like, they don't go over magical with it or, you know, out of this world. It is stuff that could very much be in society, just with his own little Tim Burton spin. And of course there is a flying elephant. So
yes, and with a lot of Tim Burton's movies comes Danny Elfman.
Right.
And I think that Danny Elfman did a wonderful job with the music. I think that one of my favorite parts about this movie is the music, that it was very Danny Elfman, as a sense of, you can tell that it's Danny Elfman, but at the same time it was very subtle, and he does a fantastic job of taking themes from movies, especially from like Dumbo here, and then he made it his own at the same time. So we're all familiar with the pink elephants scenes in Dumbo, and the way that he created the music from the pink elephant scene, essentially. He basically made it his own, but also kept it very grounded in what was that song, and that was kind of some of my favorite parts of the movie.
Which is helpful to Elfman because, I mean, he's one of the few composers, in our opinions, that we come across. So when they take over something that has already been established, he's one of the few that does callbacks to the themes that came before it to kind of initiate that love that you feel, because he knows how important the music is to the story. So you do get those homages and tips of the hat as well, which is what nails this movie in terms of nostalgia when it comes to imagery, when it comes to music. Now, taking the liberties, having to tell your own story, that's where I kind of have some issues with, but it's more so just the evil Disneyland Michael Keaton character. It fell flat with me. Everything else made up for it in terms of quality.
I feel like his character in general was kind of your typical type character as far as villains go, when you're in this kind of set of somebody that is grand but also like weak.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that they should have done a little bit more. He should have been a little bit more cunning. But he's your typical like cookie cutter villain, essentially, is what
which
he
is typically happens in a lot of these Disney movies, and he does kind of play that over the top villain character. But I was hoping for more something along the lines of like Stromboli at points. But now that makes me want to see a Pinocchio as well, because like there's hints of it in the end of the movie. I'm sure that mirror what happens in Pinocchio, in my opinion.
And I'm sure they'll do Pinocchio down the road.
I mean, they have technically, sort of, a little bit. Even Jonathan Taylor Thomas was Pinocchio in one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dumbo. It's cleverly done. It's tips of the hat to what came before. The visual imagery was great. Dumbo, what would you give it?
I mean, to be fair, even though there are some elements about this movie that I really liked and everything, Dumbo was never really one that I cared for when I was a kid, and it kind of fell with this movie too. I went and I was like, okay, I enjoyed myself, I had fun, but overall I kind of was just like, okay, it was a movie and I enjoyed myself, but now it's time to move on to something else.
Right.
So I would give it about a 3 out of 5.
3, for me it's 3.5. Like, for me it's like, I give Dumbo itself, the execution of Dumbo, 5. 5 out of 5, 100%.
Dumbo,
I would give the visuals, the imagery, and the music, that all gets a 5. But for me, it's everything else to try and carry on the movie to where it's just, especially, you know, how it ends up going down with Michael Keaton's character and his henchman that kind of vanishes towards the ending, just gone. To me, that fell flat, knocked it down, so I would say 3.5 out of 5. So, that's what we thought of Dumbo. If you saw it, let us know down in the comments below what you thought. You could also like and subscribe.
And did the thing on our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Stardust.
All the social networking gin joints, you know where they are. Cake and party, full the party, keep the party going on our Patreon. Gets us where we need to go. Thank you guys so much, and as always...
Now it's time to say goodbye.
This party is over. Bye.